Okay, joining us today on Best Dog Life is Amanda Lattanzio. She's the owner and manager of the Muddy Mutt, the place to bring your dog for a bath and grooming. We look forward to getting some tips from Amanda on how to keep our dog smelling fresh and clean. So Amanda, we have a few questions for you today.
Sure.
So the Muddy Mutt is a great name for your business. How did you come up with that name?
To be honest, I can't say that I actually came up with the name. The business has been around for 11 years, and I just so happened to buy into it last year. But it's kind of self-explanatory. We are right next to a dog park, so we do get a lot of muddy mutts coming through the door. And it's just, I can only assume that the Muddy Mutt came from kind of the self-explanatory side of things. You want to bring your dog somewhere if they're dirty or if they're muddy. So it's kind of the whole gist behind the Muddy Mutt.
Got it. Thanks. So also I was wondering, so what inspired you to get into, dog washing and the grooming business? You said you bought into it recently.
Yeah, so I grew up with a lot of animals. My family and I had birds, we had hamsters, we had fish, we had horses, cats, and of course we had lots of dogs. I kind of grew up in the country, so we kind of had space for all that. But I didn't always know I wanted to do this. I started off with a degree from communications from the University of Maryland. Did kind of PR, marketing, and realized that corporate life wasn't for me. And then I wanted to get out of it, but start kind of a new venture. My parents, I'm so blessed with parents that are super supportive of anything I do. And they were like, if you want to do this, you got to show us you can do it. And I did. So they helped me with this. And that's why we're here now. And of course, my love for dogs, my love for any kind of animal. I'm the one if my husband and I are out on a date, I'm looking at all the dogs. So he's just like, babe, we're here. So I'm the one that hangs out with dogs at parties and all that kind of stuff. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know what that's like. That's cool. So one thing I was wondering is, I take my dog over to the Muddy Mutt for grooming and for baths and stuff, but I can't say that I follow like any kind of rigorous schedule. It's usually, he got muddy at the dog park or something, so I bring him in. But I was wondering, how often should I really be bringing him in terms of making sure that he's healthy and clean? Is there really some sort of best practice?
So it really depends on the breed of dog and honestly kind of what your living situation is like. Generally speaking, you should bathe your dog like fully with shampoo, everything, nail trim, all the kind of stuff every 4 to 6 weeks. Even the nail trims you can do every 2 weeks. Now, if we're talking about like the doodles and the longer haired dogs, that's a little bit more of a rigorous process. And that goes for at home grooming and with us. So it truly just depends on the dog. And honestly, if you ever walk into our shop, we'll be glad to sit down and kind of talk with you about how often you should be bathing your dog. There is a detriment to bathing your dog too much and dry out their skin. So we can definitely talk with you about, what should the schedule look like.
Very cool. Thanks. I appreciate that. So here's an odd question, but something that I wanted to learn about was one of your services is an anal gland expression. So, when does a dog need that? It doesn't sound like a fun service to go do, but I wanted to find out, when does your dog need that?
Not fun for us either. So if you ever see your dog scooting its butt on the ground or licking their rear, and then the other kind of gross part of that is they can honestly leak on you. This is also really gross, but if it smells like dead fish, it's normally time to take your dog in to either see us or to the vet to get the glands checked out. We do external gland expression. The vet does internal. So dogs like bulldogs, boxers, sometimes pit bulls, any dogs with a short tail potentially might need internal expression, but we can also try. We are the place that people go because their dog can't get it done anywhere else. So if you want to come in, we can check the glands and we'll let you know what happens.
Okay, I appreciate it. Is that something that just happens on a certain timely basis, or?
Yeah, you'll notice it. Sometimes it's seasonal. Sometimes the dogs, when the seasons change, they have an issue. Normally, when a dog goes number 2 is when they kind of express the glands on their own. My dog, for instance, is a bulldog. He has a hard time with that, so I probably have to do his once or twice a month. But I can start to tell the signs. So it's just kind of, you know, you'll get to realize once the first time we do it, you'll realize what happens next. Because then once you start doing the glands, you can't actually stop. So, yeah. So if your dog has never had it done before, don't start it. So.
Okay. Well, that's really helpful. Thanks. So, you know, there are obviously, you know, a few bath places around, but I was wondering what makes your place in terms of grooming and bathing dogs, what makes it unique in comparison to others?
Well, I think first and foremost is the fact that we're right next to Shirlington Dog Park. I think it is the biggest dog park in the area, if not all of Virginia. So that's kind of the biggest one. And honestly, because I've hired the people that work there, I can honestly say that we all love all the dogs that come through the door. And then the biggest thing for us is we're the place that complicated dogs come. We have a groomer that deals with very aggressive dogs that have to be groomed. And then we have people that come in and they've told us that they can't get their nails trimmed anywhere else. And we're the only place that they have left, and we get it done. So for us, it's, you know, it's the health and hygiene of the animal, and that goes for everybody that works there. That's honestly what we care about. If you bring us a dog that's matted and you can't afford to get it groomed, we'll do it for free. So we honestly care about each and every dog that comes through the door. So it's a great place to work.
Okay, very cool. No, thanks. Okay, this was also one thing I was wondering. I know that you've been the owner for a while, so I was wondering, there must be some really good stories since the Muddy Mutt is right next to the dog park, you know, about dogs coming in that are muddy. Do you have any funny stories that you could share with us, one or two?
Yeah, we actually just recently had one. A little pit mix was coming out and she found the only puddle in the park and laid down, I want to say, her entire body into the puddle. She had mud from her eyelids back to the tip of her tail. And my assistant manager and I looked at each other like, oh my gosh, there was mud footprints everywhere. The mom was so apologetic, and we said, it's okay, it's why we're here. She left clean, which was the best part. So, and we've had some, I mean, every day is a new day working at the Muddy Mutt. Some days we can't believe that actual white golden retriever is actually white, because they just came from the park. So it's fun. It's some dogs you think are one breed and they leave looking like another breed because you think they're covered in mud when they walk in. So it's quite fun.
Oh, I'm sure that must be yeah, it must be changing all the time. It sounds really interesting. In terms of, are there any like you know, when you think about dogs and when you have to wash them or groom them, are there any certain types of dogs in terms of personalities or sizes that make it harder, or different personalities that make your job more difficult?
To be honest, no. The biggest factor is if they're trained. Now, of course, we have the puppies that you can't, you know, if all these COVID puppies or quarantine puppies, everybody's just like, here, wash my dog. So the biggest thing for us is if they've had any kind of training, it helps us. We deal with 110-pound Bernese Mountain Dogs, but then we also deal with, you know, the 2-pound Yorkie that just wants to attack your hand. So if the dog's been exposed to this kind of life where they're, you know, being bathed, being touched regularly, you know, going through the training classes, it makes our life so much easier. Half the time when we, you know, when somebody picks up their dog, we tell them, we're like, touch your dog, touch their feet, touch their face, because that's what we're going to be doing. So it doesn't really, we can sit there and handle a 110-pound Great Dane or a 110-pound Bernese just as much as we can a small little Yorkie. So it honestly just boils down to how they're trained.
Gotcha. Okay, that's good to know. So you did mention COVID. How has COVID impacted your business?
So we've been open this whole time. We just have kind of been going with the phases as Governor Northam has been telling us. So we stayed open, but we did curbside pickup and drop off only. We did payment over the phone. Nobody was allowed into our shop. The only time so prior to us needing masks, I believe this is what happened. We were allowed to stay open and people were still able to come in. And then the mask mandate happened. So people were still allowed to come in, but everything was by appointment only. We were only allowing 1 or 2 people in for the self-wash. And at that point, we were only allowing like 1 person. So if you had an appointment, you were allotted a certain amount of time. And then as the phases kind of grew, to being more open, we started kind of just abiding by that. Shirlington Dog Park opened. We opened fully, but if you want to come into our shop now, you have to wear a mask. It's just part of the process. To be honest, we haven't really noticed a huge impact. It's kind of been better for us. We did get a PPP loan, so everything's kind of just worked out for us. Everybody was showing up to their appointments. People were being very generous with their tips. So it's definitely, you definitely get to see the community kind of rallying around the small businesses, and we've definitely seen that.
Great, I'm happy to hear you're doing so well considering that. The one thing I did notice, I've been there, I've noticed that you sort of rebranded the place a bit, so I was hoping you could tell us a little bit about that. It looks really good. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. When I first bought the place, it kind of didn't really have a direction for where it was going. Any kind of future endeavors that the shop wanted to do, it was almost impossible because the logo was so dated, just kind of not with the times. So I come, like I said, from a communications and marketing background. So my background is in kind of InDesign, Adobe, graphic design and stuff like that. So I kind of took it and ran with it, and this will hopefully, with all our future endeavors that we want to do, kind of set us up for just leaps, so many more opportunities for us. It's definitely a one with the times logo, and same kind of thing with the shop. We're trying to make it more appealing to the eye and not so rugged, and not so, we still will always have that rugged side because we are next to the Shirlington Dog Park, but we definitely also want to speak to that, person that comes in that really wants that really organic treat, or really wants that, properly made leash, or, whatever. So all the stuff we have in our shop, we can eat if we ever wanted to. And that's just kind of the way that we're going with the shop right now.
Okay, got it. Yeah, it looks really good. One of the things I was also wondering, obviously you've been doing well and you've been owning the business for a while. So what do you sort of see as the future? If you look out for maybe a year or two, where do you see the future of Muddy Mutt?
So recently, I've been thinking about the future of the Muddy Mutt and where we're going to go with that. The biggest thing for me is rent in Arlington is not cheap. So what we're kind of getting around that is with mobile grooming, and getting a van that will have the Muddy Mutt on it. The other thing we're also thinking about adding is Muddy Mutt dog walking. That might be a little bit less in the future. I know there's a lot of people that actually come to our shop that have their own dog walking services. So the forefront right now is mobile grooming, and then of course continuing to fix up the mutt. I'm hoping to get a new sign out front that matches our logo right now, and then just kind of fixing up stuff in our groom room and stuff like that. Further down the road, possibly another location. It would just have to be very strategic about where we get our next location.
Okay, very cool. Well, Amanda, thanks for the time today and sharing a little bit about the Muddy Mutt.
Thank you so much. It was great talking to you.